Bada bing, bada boo.
Allison's a few years old, and she already sleeps really well in her own room every single night. Her parents put so much effort in trying to make this room cute for her so that she actually wants to sleep in there at night. They have those giant letters that spell out her name on top of her bed, Alison, and she loves that. That's her favorite part of her room. And every single night, she never complains. She goes to her closet, she checks inside her closet. There's no monsters. She checks under her bed. There's no monsters. Which, I mean, if someone is like, Daddy, there's monsters under my bed, it's creepy, but it's still understandable considering she's 3 years old. But Allison has zero complaints. Until one night, Allison's parents are passing by their daughter's door and they hear this man's voice. And they freeze like mid-hallway because what the hell is that? They stop, they listen, and they hear it again. Allison is supposed to be asleep. She has no screens in her room. Nobody's in the house. They don't have guests over. And they have never even heard this voice before at all. And it just says, "Wake up, Allison, you little..."
What?
Who the hell is talking to their 3-year-old like that? They slam open Allison's door and they're checking everywhere. They're checking the closet, the window, under the bed, the bathroom. Allison is getting confused. Like, what is going on all of a sudden? And all they see is the camera, the baby cam, pointed directly at them. It just moved. And it says, "Bitch," to Allison's mom. And then nothing. That's it. The voice is gone. There are multiple different websites that you can go on. You click the first link and it feels illegal to even be on here. You feel like you're on the FBI's radar. You are suddenly inside of somebody's living room, watching the homeowner sit on the couch. They're knitting. They're periodically glancing at the TV and knitting. And you're like, do they know that I'm watching this right now? The next camera you click is CCTV footage outside of someone's house. Again, do they know that I can see this right now? The next one, you're like, okay, they definitely don't know. It's somebody's bedroom. It's their closet. It's their bathroom. It's the mall. There's public places like gyms, hospitals, schools, prisons, women's health clinics. And then finally, there are tons and tons of videos of private bedrooms with live footage of sleeping babies.
It's gotta be super illegal, right?
It's questionable. A lot of these websites are not illegal because they are accessing unencrypted video cameras, like unsecured video cameras. If you get a home security system and you don't change the password, technically anyone could really access that. Just know any security camera where you can access it on your phone, so can anybody else if they really try.
Wow.
So there are websites that will just broadcast these unprotected home security cameras online. So it's kind of gray area of, is it really illegal? Is it not illegal? Who's even running these websites? It's weird. Some people who browse these websites daily, they explain, well, it's not that I'm a creep. It's just like, I'm lonely. I'm lonely and I want to be around people. And this is the most natural way to be around them. Which is fine if you're watching like the live footage of Times Square, but to watch somebody else in their living room is kind of weird. I would call a therapist. I would call a police officer. But they continue. And it's also this weird paranoia that if I keep clicking and watching different cameras, I'm going to pop up on there.
What does that mean?
They feel like the more they click, one day it's going to show them on the screen. It's like this fear that it's going to be you next. So they keep clicking and trying to make sure that they're not on these websites. They say it's a very interesting feeling. It's a mixture of complex feelings. But I will say that some of the darker ones, they really focus on baby cams, live footage of baby cams. Now, I imagine that this is probably illegal, but Jamie didn't know that. Jamie's a mom, and she just knows that her baby cam has this really cool feature where you can go on your phone and you can make the baby camera move. You can make it look right, you can make it look left. Just swiping on your phone, it'll turn the camera, the point of view. It scans the entire room. I'm assuming it's a really good convenience feature. But she wakes up Wednesday morning and the camera is pointed not at the crib in her room, but it's pointed at her on the bed that she shares with her husband. And she's like, why is the camera pointed at me? I mean, she doesn't remember setting it like that. Maybe her husband is at work and is wondering what my beautiful wife is up to. Is she up out of bed? He moved the camera and then forgot to move it back. Regardless, she's like, not a big deal. She gets up, starts her day. At dinner, Kevin, her husband, comes home. And it's just the three of them, Jamie, Kevin, and the baby. And they're sitting there and she gets this alert. Ding! Baby monitor being adjusted. The camera is moving. And she looks at Kevin. She looks at Kevin's phone that is on the table. He's not even touching his phone. She opens up the baby cam app and she sees in real time the camera is slowly moving to pan across the room. It stops and it points directly at the armchair that she sits on. And this armchair is where she breastfeeds her son every single day. Then it scans to the adult bed. I guess once they realize that nobody is there, it goes back to the bassinet, the crib where the baby sleeps. Jamie's looking at Kevin. Did you change the position of the camera earlier today? He's like, well, what are you asking me right now? Did you change the position of the camera earlier today to point at the bed? He's like, no, I didn't even check the camera all day today because you were home all day. Jamie runs into the bedroom. She unplugs the camera and starts calling the police. You gotta help me. Someone hacked into my baby cam. She tries to log into her baby camera app and it's restricted. It says insufficient permissions. She can't even get into her own account anymore. And the police tell her, well, you're not the first one that's called us about this. Like, things like this happen quite frequently, and there's not really anything we can do about it.
Wow.
Another netizen said, I was changing my daughter's diaper, and I just had this feeling. You know when you're outside, you feel like someone's staring at you, and you look, and they're staring at you? I had that in my house, but I was alone. So I looked around, and then all of a sudden I hear this voice, that's a really poopy diaper.
That's crazy.
Coming out of the baby cam.
So they're not just watching. They basically hacked it.
Yes.
Hacked your system. And,
Yes.
And is messing with you now.
Yeah.
That is...
A lot of creepy people will be hacking baby cameras, but that's not even the creepiest thing that you can find on a baby cam. It can get so much worse. A Chinese-American couple in San Francisco, Dina and Tim, these are pseudonyms, by the way, they wish to remain anonymous. They open up the old footage from their baby camera, like the ones at night when their baby is sleeping in her room, and they press play.
When you say old, is it like how old?
Like a few weeks old.
Oh.
Because they noticed some things were off and they just wanted to check the footage, make sure that nothing had happened. Mm-hmm. And they go into weeks old footage and they press play and they have this gut feeling it's going to be bad, but it's so much worse. This is the worst thing that they have ever seen in their entire lives. They click open the file. It's at night, makes everything creepier. It's black and white and everyone's eyes in the rooms are glowing. So if you walk into the room on the camera, your eyes look like raccoon eyes. It doesn't help the situation. The camera is pointed from the corner of the room. So inside you see this queen size bed, a small crib right next to the queen size bed, as well as some desks and some other storage organization shelves in the room. It's just like a basic room. They press play and they see this 56-year-old woman standing at the edge of the bed, at the bottom of the adult size queen size bed. Mm-hmm. She's holding their newborn in her arms, maybe like a few days old. And the baby is peaceful. And the woman is just standing there peacefully. It almost looks like she's zoning out. Then out of nowhere, she pulls the baby up and throws the baby like a football onto the bed with so much force, the baby bounces off of the mattress and lands on the very edge of the mattress. So it's like bouncing on the bed because she's chucking that baby at the bed so hard.
A few days old, you said?
Yeah, like 4 days old. The baby starts crying. The baby was not crying before. The baby starts crying now.
Is there audio too?
Yes. And the woman is silent. She has no facial expressions. She doesn't look angry. She doesn't look crazy. She doesn't, just nothing. She's just got a blank face. Mm-hmm. The woman walks over very calmly, like a robot, and starts grabbing the blanket on the bed and shoving it into the baby's mouth and then pressing down on the baby and strangling the baby. Dina and Tim are shaking because that's their baby in the video. That's their baby. And that woman is the freaking devil. They click the next video. They see the same woman standing above the baby's crib, their baby, and the baby is peacefully sleeping. The woman starts smacking it on the sides. Again, her face is like empty. There's no anger. There's no enjoyment on her face.
Is this a different day?
A different night. Just empty face, smacking the baby side to side. Baby wakes up, naturally starts crying. The woman grabs the edge of the blanket, shoves it in the baby's mouth, and starts pressing down on the head. And then she grabs both of her hands and starts pressing the baby into the crib like she's kneading a really hard, large batch of dough or clay. Like, it's incredibly rough. She's putting her body weight into her hands. She uses her hand to cover the entire baby's face because this baby is a few days old. The face is tiny. And she can't breathe anymore. The baby can't breathe. She stops crying. Only then does the woman give one more strong push before walking away from the crib. As she's walking away from the crib, the baby starts crying. Because that makes sense. The woman walks back, grabs the baby by the blanket. So, babies have to be swaddled when they're really young because their arms can't be free. So you wrap them in like a blanket burrito. She grabs one side. Now the baby is probably standing, I want to say like a foot and a half off the mattress of the crib. And she's holding the baby over the crib, and she grabs one piece of the blanket and unrolls it, letting the baby roll, and then boom, land on the crib.
Free fall into the crib.
Yeah. Eventually, the woman takes the baby into her bed, the queen-size bed, and starts shoving more blankets into the baby's mouth until the baby stops crying. What's very interesting is when you watch through this footage, there are moments where the baby is not crying, and she will force the baby to cry by either roughly smacking its swaddle or by shaking it with so much force, and then she will enact this crazy violent outburst against the baby. This is the since viral case of the most evil nanny in San Francisco, and how she is now currently free and evading the law. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They focus on finding missing children, reducing child exploitation, and the prevention of child victimization. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support. I would like to say that I was suffering with laryngitis recently, so my voice sounds different. I'm so sorry. Hopefully it gets better. But as always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. And a brief disclaimer before we get started. Today's case involves very graphic descriptions of abuse on a newborn child. If that is understandably too much, if you feel overwhelmed, please take a break. We will see you in the next episode. So with that being said, let's get into it. TikTok was banned for, I think, 24 hours.
Shorter than that, I think.
Yeah, it was a very short amount of time. And everyone was figuring out, where are we supposed to go? Like, where on earth are we wanted as people who doom scroll on TikTok on a daily basis, myself included? And at first people thought, well, the natural migration would be to Instagram. I guess like the Reels, right? Maybe there. Others thought, remember when Vine disappeared, it was all to YouTube? What if it's like that? Which, side note, Americans collectively decided an enemy of my enemy is a friend of mine. So they were thinking, who else hates the US government other than Americans? Perhaps China. So within a day or two, they don't go to Instagram. We don't go to YouTube. We went to the most downloaded app in the US called Red Note. 小红书. 小红书?
小红书.
It's actually like Little Red Book, I think is the more proper translation. But nevertheless, I am obsessed with Red, by the way. I had my husband download it for me for like a year or two ago. And it's been wild to wake up one day and just see it filled with a bunch of Americans all on Red all of a sudden. I mean, the top comments are Americans leaving comments on Chinese netizens' posts of their day in their lives. And they're saying, I'm here to reunite with my Chinese spy. And then to which Chinese netizens have come to comment, give me your data, finger gun, finger gun. Chinese students have posted their English homework online on Red for Americans to help them, which results in them failing because Americans are never taught proper grammar, apparently. And we can't even teach a non-English speaker English. It's been kind of crazy. But right before, that is what Red Note was known for. There was another big case in China and America involving Red Note and TikTok. It is the Bay Area, California nanny case. In the Bay Area, this is around San Francisco, there's this small suburban home, and there's a woman who is sticking her head out the window, and she's shoving her phone out the second floor window, recording every single person in the driveway, and there's a row of people in the driveway, and they're staring proudly back at her, like, you're recording me? Okay, fine, record me. and they're spraying the words baby abuser all over her garage doors.
Wow. How many people is outside?
Like a good handful of this random place. And there's still remnants of eggshells on her driveway from when her house was egged. I mean, the woman that everyone is calling a baby abuser is an alleged higher up at TikTok. TikTok, the company. And all of this leads back to a series of posts made on the app Red Note. It's getting crazy, okay? Dina and Tim are on Red Note, and they're looking for a Chinese-speaking nanny, but in America. They live in San Francisco. But they're on the Chinese app, and they want a Chinese nanny who lives in San Francisco. And they're on this like months and months in advance. They know the due date. They've already gotten all the clothes, the paperwork, all the essentials, and now they're just waiting to give birth and find a nanny. Dina's not really in a rush, which is why she starts looking so early on. She just wants to make sure that she can find a nanny that she fully trusts. She's skipping through all the nannies that are posting on the Red app, the Chinese app, until she comes across one where the caption reads, San Francisco postpartum nanny recommendation. The main picture you see is this huge spread of food, freshly steamed shrimp, ladyfingers, soup, eggs, dumplings. I mean, the food looks really clean and it's all homemade and it's all beautifully laid out on the table. The original poster is, she's not the nanny. She goes on to rave about the nanny. She said, I used this nanny for my very first pregnancy, and she's just so gentle. She's experienced, but also incredibly competent and capable. On top of that, the nanny is actually my neighbor's mom. So it's like someone I can trust, which, you know, obviously helps.
And the photo of the food, I'm assuming it's the nanny's cooking.
Yeah.
So she's showing off what she can make.
And how helpful she is. And she's saying, well, this is, you know, pretty much a referral, if you will. The person that posts this referral on Red Note, she works as the hiring recruiter, talent acquisition at TikTok. I believe she's the head of talent acquisition. So a hiring recruiter will go out and they will manage the team of people that hire people. So they'll facilitate the interviews, look for the recommendations, I guess facilitate the background checks. Talent acquisition, they actually are more network based. So they will find ways to make TikTok a more marketable company for employees because you're trying to attract the top talent. If you're the top talent in your field, why would you go to TikTok over Meta versus all these other tech brands?
Yeah. So
you're trying to facilitate the best environment and the best, I guess, comp package and make it amazing for people who want to work for TikTok. It's a pretty big deal. I think the average salary for talent acquisition in big tech companies, probably base is like $200-300
Whoa.
a year. Okay. That's a lot. So Dina DMs the original poster, and her name is Christina. And she asks, hey, can we talk on the phone or at least like text? I just want to know more about the nanny and about the experience that you had working with the nanny. She gets on the phone and she's explaining to Dina, yeah, you know, it's interesting because I'm actually pregnant, just like you. Yeah. So I was going to use the nanny again. And because it went so well the first time. I loved her for my first pregnancy. But the reason that I'm not is because I think I might be going back to China to give birth. So I booked her originally and then I canceled on her. So I felt so bad. And that's why I made that referral post on Red because she really is a great nanny. I mean, I would definitely have used her again. But again, I'm going to China. So after talking to Christina, Dina's like, okay, you know what? I feel good about this nanny. And also it helps because it's not the nanny that's posting about her own services. It's another Bay Area mom who already used her. She feels good about it.
Yeah.
So she books the nanny for 3 months and it is $10,000 a month.
Wow.
Okay, I'm going to explain in a second because that's a lot of money, but it'll be worth it because this woman is not a regular nanny. September 2024, Dina gives birth to baby H. And she's honestly so relieved that she's found a nanny months ahead of time because, first of all, baby H comes early and she's on the smaller side. She's like 5 pounds. She's tiny. Dina had a lot of complications during labor. Labor was so rough. Dina's epidural didn't take well, so they had to keep dosing her with more pain meds. She
5
said,
pounds sounds very, very light.
Yeah.
Is that, what's the average? Like 10?
Oh, I think like 7.
7. Oh, okay.
But 5 is really light because my niece came early and she was a little heavier than 5 too.
Okay.
Yeah. So she said it caused severe back pain because of all the epidurals. The doctors told her it's going to take you a lot longer to fully recover compared to your previous labor situation. This is her second child. And she's having some pretty alarming postpartum bleeding. Some bleeding is normal, but this is, you just have to keep an eye out because this feels like it could be a problem. Dina's fine. They send her home with baby H, but they have to be super diligent. They got to monitor the whole situation. It doesn't help that Tim is working. They've got so much going on. Dina's in pain. Baby H came early. There's a lot. And the only thing that's saving them is that they got a nanny. Like, good thing they got a freaking nanny. And the post on Red that they originally saw, it was talking about how this nanny has 5 years of experience and she has this almost obsessive level of cleanliness. She needs everything to be clean, which for the most part, the first few days that she comes, Dina and Tim are like, oh yeah, she does have an obsessive level of cleanliness. Nanny Lu shows up. She's 56. She's this very maternal looking Chinese lady. She's on time, immediately starts going to work. She's very diligent, and it does feel like she's done this quite often. She keeps asking the parents, you have to install baby cams in the room. You have to monitor the app in the room. And how do I monitor the app? Because if I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking or I'm doing something, I got to make sure that I can keep an eye on the baby.
Wow.
Yeah, and the parents take her phone and they can't download the freaking app because she has a Huawei phone, which is a Chinese phone that's banned in America. So they're like, okay, why don't you just use our iPad? We'll download it on the iPad. You can watch on the iPad. She's like, okay, thank you. The next day, she wakes up in the morning and the nanny looks stressed. Dina and Tim are like, what's wrong? Why are you so stressed? What's going on with the baby? She's explaining, no, nothing's wrong with the baby. It's just, I woke up to feed the baby in the middle of the night. But I can't remember if it was 2:30 in the morning or 3 in the morning. I feel like it was 2:30 because I was trying to keep a log, but I guess I was tired. I forgot to write it down. Could you guys check the camera and see what time it was?
Was the camera the nanny's suggestion? They installed it?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's wild.
So a lot of nannies actually want cameras.
Yeah. But for this case, though.
And she's like, can you check the camera to see if I fed the baby at 2:30 in the morning or at 3 in the morning?
Yeah, this is crazy premeditation. Like, there's so much thinking.
So hold on to that. And she's like, because right now I'm cooking and I can't remember what time it was.
Yeah.
And if you're like, why is the nanny cooking? Let me explain. She is a Chinese confinement nanny. This is also very common in Korea, and that's probably why she gets paid around $10,000 a month. It is the pretty accurate belief that the human body needs to recover heavily after giving birth. And in China and in places like Korea, they take it very seriously. Obviously, we should take it seriously in America, but I don't know, the way it's set up, you barely get maternal leave, right? The new mothers will typically be confined to their house for 30 days straight.
Yeah, sometimes you can't even, you have to.
You can't leave the house for 30 days.
Yeah.
You have to only eat nutritious, warm meals. You can't let your body be cold. So you can't eat cold food. You can only eat foods that warm you up. Like papaya is a big one. And you need to help aid with your milk production. They're not even technically, if you do it the old school way, you're not even technically allowed to shower for 30 days because you're washing away immunity and you're going to get sick and you're going to be cold. I think most Koreans don't take it as seriously, but we will only eat like miyeokguk seaweed soup for like 30 days. And because this is nearly impossible to do, a lot of people in the US will hire a confinement nanny. So like a lot of Chinese parents, Korean parents. And it's very different from a regular nanny. A regular nanny, their focus is on the baby. They're not cooking food unless it's for the baby, right? It's already pre-established. Confinement nannies, all they care about is the person who gave birth and the baby. The partner, other kids, we don't care about you. You are nobody to this confinement nanny. The confinement nannies, if they're really good, they will typically protect the mother from everybody else. If the mother-in-law comes in and is like, why aren't you doing this? The confinement nanny is like, hey lady, get your ass out of here. If the husband is like, where's my dinner? The confinement nanny is like, hey, go sleep outside. It's very intense.
There's even hotels. Have you seen those?
Yes.
Like you just go there for like a few months after giving birth. They will really take care of you all day, all night, and the baby.
Yeah.
Like a resort spa, recovery center.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
They're drying your hair after your shower because you can't get cold. They're preparing ginger baths because ginger is supposed to help your body retain heat. And because they cost typically around $10,000 a month, you really want to make sure that your confinement nanny is the perfect one. Now, obviously, I don't know if it costs $10,000 all across the US. San Francisco is probably on the more expensive side. So I would maybe guesstimate 5 to 10 on average, right? A few days into being in the house, Dina's like, maybe I did pick the right confinement nanny because she's asking me if she fed the baby at 2:30, 3 in the morning. She wants me to check the cameras so that she can log it down. I mean, she's got this whole paper of when that baby was fed. But then she tells the nanny, oh, we don't have the playback feature yet. Because we just installed these cameras and we have to sign up for the subscription. There's a problem with it. Anyway, right now we can only see it live, but we can't play back. It doesn't record.
What?
This is the worst mistake because this is a test.
This is a test.
By the nanny.
Oh.
Immediately after that, Dina and Tim, they're hyper alert about everything in that house. And they notice just the smallest thing, the nanny starts slacking off. She's not abusive or anything. She just seems like she's slacking a little bit. Which they think, okay, maybe we're just being paranoid as new parents. Maybe she's tired. Maybe she's not having a good day. We're just hypersensitive and we want everyone to function at 110% because that's what parents want, right, for their baby. But she seems a lot less caring. That's just the feeling she gets. It's a very subtle shift. Dina asks her husband, you know that old camera we had in the room that's not a baby cam but is for security that we had in all the rooms just because when we were both at work we don't want anything to happen to the house? Do you still have that in there? He's like, oh yeah, I still have that. It's in the corner of the room. It's not, I don't think it's pointing directly at the crib, but do you want me to check it? She's like, yeah, could you check it?
Is this weeks later?
This is a few days later.
Oh.
So this does in fact record footage and
the nanny didn't know that, huh?
No.
Wow.
They didn't even focus on, because baby cams and security cams, I guess in their minds, they had completely separated the two.
Right.
Baby cams are typically pointed at the crib and
Yeah. Wow.
And so they're like, okay, well, maybe we'll just check it. So they go through the previous night, a few minutes of the previous night.
Yeah.
And there's this one section where Tim is watching it. The baby starts crying. The nanny walks over and grabs the baby, a few days old at this point, grabs the baby and kind of shakes her a little bit because she's crying. But it's not a violent shake.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like she's going to have any health concerns. It just seems like, oh, please, why are you crying? You shake a baby rattle, come on, get it out of your system. But still not okay. Mm-hmm. It's not the most violent thing, but still absolutely not okay. She's being rough. Mm-hmm. So Dina and Tim, they confront her and they're like, hey, could you just be a little more gentle when you touch the baby? And immediately, the nanny is sobbing. She's breaking down on the floor and she's complaining about how exhausted she is at night. She wakes up so late at night. Her eyes hurt. Her back hurts. Money is not even the issue. Both her daughter and her son-in-law are high-ranking employees in Silicon Valley.
Oh, you mean Tim and...
No.
No. Oh.
She's saying her kids.
Oh, that's
So,
weird.
Yeah. She's like, I'm not even doing this for money. I'm doing this because I love kids. And money is not the issue, but I'm just so exhausted right now. Huh. And they thought it was really weird. And she keeps explaining to them, I would never do anything inhumane. She says, it's not in my nature to ever harm a baby. Dina and Tim, they're comforting her because it's so strange, but there's also something about her reaction that irks them. It just rubs them the wrong way because why are you telling me that you would never do anything inhumane to a baby? I feel like that's baseline.
Yeah.
It's like telling someone, I would never kill anyone. It's like, well, I would assume that you would never kill anyone. Mm-hmm. It's very bizarre. So they start going through more of the old footage and they see that she's a little bit more rough every single night. And they don't see the extent of the full footage. They just see glimpses, pieces, and parts.
So you're saying they're checking daily?
They're just just going
back
through
even more.
Yes, and they just see a few little moments where she's again being rough in a way that they don't like. It doesn't seem to be a one-time thing. They don't go through all the footage. They feel like we've seen enough. We've seen a few clips. That's not what we want in our house. You're gone. Get out of here. You're not a good nanny. So they didn't see all the clips that I was telling you about earlier.
Yeah.
They just see some small, very rough, very, I would consider abusive, but you know, they don't call the cops. They just say, get out.
So how long was Nanny there for?
10 days.
Okay, so that's when
Yes.
she's gone. Okay.
She's gone. They fire the nanny. They kick her out. And the whole time she's packing her stuff, she's not even trying to question why they're kicking her out. She's not even asking, oh, can I get paid for the 10 days? Which they, again, think is very weird. Because if you genuinely feel like you didn't do anything wrong, you'd be like, why am I getting kicked out?
Yeah.
Where's my payment? This is unfair. You booked me for 3 months. I could have booked other clients. Nothing. Just silence, and she leaves. And now they're just trying to focus on getting back to normal because it's a sudden change without a nanny. Dina's still recovering. Tim is taking care of her and the kids whilst working. And so finally, weeks pass. And then they're like, you know what? Just something about that nanny irks me. Now they're clear-minded. Things have gotten better. Dina's recovered. And she's like, let's go through all the footage. Dina cannot even handle looking at the footage. Tim said, I was sitting there watching. And each time the nanny even shows up on the baby cam, I had to mentally prepare myself. My heart would start racing. My hands could not even stay still while they're holding onto the phone. Sometimes when he sees the nanny in view, he just wants to squint his eyes because he knows what she's about to do to their baby. And he's just sobbing the whole time, wiping his tears, wiping the tears off the screen. I will say that the footage is so violent. The footage is, I mean, people that don't even know Baby H like myself, no relation to Baby H, it's so hard to watch the footage. I think it's worse because it's very unexpected. There will be moments where the nanny is holding the baby in her arms, and it seems like she's kind of rocking the baby back and forth. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she chucks the baby across the room.
So this started when? Like the first night, second night?
Yeah.
Immediately?
Mm-hmm. Dina starts freaking out. She and Tim are both just trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do about this. And then they reach out to the girl on Red Note that even posted about the nanny in the first place. She's not responding.
So I'm so sorry. So about the footage.
Yes.
What was it? Is it just constant, like every couple
night.
hours?
Yeah, every couple hours.
Just throughout the night, she will walk into the room and abuse the child and then leave.
She sleeps in that room.
Oh.
So she sleeps on that queen size bed and the crib is next to her. Every time she has to do midnight feedings, throughout the night, and she has to comfort the baby when it's crying, when the baby is crying.
Right. But instead she's just like hurting the baby.
And then you'll see moments where she's bottle feeding the baby. And then she'll get up and she has to burp the baby. But she'll burp the baby so hard the baby starts crying, and then she'll start shoving blankets into the baby's mouth. So it doesn't even feel, not that abuse is ever logical, but it's not like this baby is crying, I'm at my wit's end. Not that that's okay. I'm not even, please, okay? But it's even scarier.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like she's trying to make the baby cry so that she can abuse the baby.
That is weird. Okay.
It's very bizarre. This Red Note referral is not responding. At first, Dina and Tim are trying to reach out because, first of all, this lady is crazy and you need to help us get to the bottom of it. And second of all, she could have done this to your baby because you also used her as a confinement nanny. No response. So interestingly enough, they decide, why don't we try running her phone number? Because something about this feels wrong. She was pretty responsive, and now all of a sudden, if we tell you, hey, the nanny you used for your baby is abusive, you wouldn't want to call me back immediately? That doesn't make sense as a mother.
Yeah.
They run the phone number, and this girl that recommends the nanny on the app is not a random customer providing her 2 cents and a referral. She is the nanny's daughter. She's got the same last name, everything.
Whoa.
But nowhere in the post does it say, hey, this nanny is my mom. In fact, it says, this nanny is my neighbor's mom. It's a flat out lie. It's not even an omission of the truth. Christina, the Red Note OP, the girl that recommends the nanny, the daughter of the nanny, she made it appear as if she has relatively zero incentive to promote this nanny other than perhaps her guilt for canceling on her. She made it appear to be the most natural referral process, just vouching for the nanny when it's her mom. It is alleged that she not only lied about that, but she helped her mom get a travel visa into the US from China. So her mom was living in China. She gets her into the United States on a tourist visa, which you're not allowed to work in the country on a tourist visa. But then she's setting her mom up to work in the country, allegedly, which is illegal. So once all of these little sick puzzles are coming together, Dina and Tim are messaging Christina nonstop. I wouldn't even say they're calling her out. They're being quite understanding. Even in their initial message, it's along the lines of, hello, I'm the mother who just fired your mother, Nanny Lou. I'm not sure if you're aware of the reason behind your mother being let go, but it was child abuse. We would like to arrange a face-to-face meeting with you to discuss this matter. There are some videos that might help you understand and make a judgment. We also want to discuss how to properly handle this situation moving forward. Thank you.
They didn't file a police report?
They do eventually. But they're basically reaching out to her to state, I don't even know if you know this about your mom. Like, I'm about to break some very harsh news to you. Christina does not give a response. No response. So then they go to the police. They file a police report. The police tell them, we can't do anything because that woman is back in China.
Wow.
She allegedly left for China the night that she was fired.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The police can't help. Christina allegedly doesn't want to help. Dina and Tim decide, fine then, we're going to try and get them to help. We're going to go on Red Note. We're going to go on Douyin, which is Chinese TikTok, and we're going to tell everybody what happened so it doesn't happen to anybody else. Who knows? She could be in China right now trying to be a confinement nanny. So November of 2024, their social media post goes viral. It's a long post with pictures of the nanny's ID card, along with her social media profile, and a Google Drive with all the baby cam videos of the abuse. And they write, CA video, watch with caution. The nanny's name is Lou. She was recommended to us by another mother on Red Note in May of 2024. The other mother on Red Note said the nanny was her neighbor's mom and she had hired her for her first child. We contacted this Red Note referral and spoke to her on the phone to inquire about how the nanny was, and ultimately we decided on a 3-month schedule with the nanny. But instead, this is what happened. There's 9 clips inside the Google Drive. The video starts with a disclaimer. This video might be the most malicious maternity nanny in the world. Open carefully. This video is shocking. Warning, mothers with high blood pressure should be cautious.
Are you linking these in source notes or no?
I will. Just be very careful. Yeah. I'm not a mother. My sister saw the videos and she said it kept her up for like 2 nights. It's very viscerally, you see it and you can't unsee it. And yeah, and she's a mom of 2, so it was rough. The case blows up to the point where even if you type in the words Bay Area on Douyin and read for a while, and not anymore, but at that point, one of the first results was Bay Area abusive nanny. Everybody starts resharing this video. And at first, I will say netizens' reactions were kind of mixed. A good chunk of netizens, they're busy commenting on the video itself because of just how visceral the image is. But a lot of netizens are also confused by baby H's parents, Dina and Tim. They're attacking them, going, why didn't you immediately call the cops the night you fired her? When you found out that she was suspicious, why didn't you immediately investigate further? I'm so mad. Why don't you watch over your own baby? But other netizens' posts, they start going viral too. And they're also Bay Area moms, and they're commenting, that's the freaking nanny that we initially tried to hire. We interviewed her. One poster says, we saw the original post from Christina too, and we thought, okay, well, she sounds nice. We get to the phone call stage where I'm talking to the nanny on the phone. The way she spoke and the way she answered questions was quite unprofessional. And then compared to her resume, which was over the top and professional, it just felt like it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
That's why we didn't hire the nanny. Another poster comes online to say, I almost hired her too. But the reason I didn't was, honestly, like it was a whole fight between her and her husband too, because it's kind of embarrassing. At the time, it seems stupid. We didn't hire her because I was going through her social media account and all of her pictures were heavily filtered and edited for a 56-year-old woman, which like, I know it's bad to just judge people like that, but compared to other professional nannies that were posting on Red Note, it just kind of felt weird. You know, most professional nannies were posting natural, unedited photos, at least on their professional account, to showcase their lives and what kind of person they are. But it was just weird. It was just weird. You know, but my husband was like, give her a chance. We went to the phone interview, and that's when we noticed something more alarming. The original poster, Christina, mentioned that the nanny was from a big city. Beijing. This is like saying they're from New York. Right? Cities in China are ranked as tiers. Beijing is a tier 1 city and quite literally the nation's capital. There is some stigma, unfortunately, of professionals from tier 1 cities might be considered, I guess, biased, more advanced, you know, because it's a tier 1 city, which is clearly a huge selling point. Otherwise, Christina wouldn't have even put it in the original post that she's from Beijing, right? But when this woman gets on the phone with the nanny, the only thing she's noticing is her thick Northeastern accent. Nothing is wrong with that. There's actually a lot of tier 1 cities in the Northeast. It's just a random lie, it felt like. She's like, it's so random and weird. I guess it would be the equivalent of, instead of saying you're from Dallas or Austin or Atlanta, still massive cities, you're like, oh yeah, I'm from New York. I'm from New York City. I'm from Manhattan. It's kind of like, I don't know why you would have to lie about that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just why. Interestingly enough, another netizen comes forward and she says, oh, I had such a bad time too during the hiring process, but not with the nanny, with her daughter, Christina. Yeah. So if the netizens' discourse is 100% accurate, then this means Christina does work at TikTok as the talent acquisition lead, allegedly, and she's supposed to be helping attract top talent. Sometimes she'll do interviews when there's some really big talent that she wants to bring over to TikTok, poach, if you will. I would imagine to some degree she has to be a likable human being. One netizen writes, I was interviewed by Christina. The whole time, she was super unprofessional. She made several attempts to lowball my salary. Everyone I know in the industry that knows her does not like her. So all these things are coming together online, and Christina never reaches out to Dina and Tim at this point. They're posting online and people are putting the pieces together. It appears that Christina, the TikTok employee, is the one that brought her mom through a tourist visa. Allegedly, illegally set it up so that she could find a job in America, which she's not supposed to be working on a tourist visa, lied about a bunch of things, and then Christina's husband, so the nanny's son-in-law, was allegedly the one to drive her to Dina and Tim's house for the job. Now, this is very important because he reportedly, allegedly, makes almost $500,000 a year working for Snap, the parent company of Snapchat. And remember, Nanny Lou said, my daughter and my son-in-law are executives, high-ranking executives in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
It's believed that together total comp, maybe they make like 7 figures a year. Who knows? $1 million household income. And yet their mother must work as the violent, abusive, borderline homicidal nanny. I mean, that's what netizens can't even wrap their minds around. Because sure, if you don't have money, maybe you force your parents into a job that you know they're going to be bad at. Maybe you don't know how bad they'll be, but they don't even need her to work. They make way more. I mean, yes, the Bay Area is expensive, but are you serious? The nanny, Christina's mom, can't even legally work. I mean, none of this is making any sense. So netizens dig even further, and they find out that Christina had actually posted about her mom way before her being a nanny. She was on these forums on WeChat. So the nanny posts are on Red Note, which is the TikTok refugee app. Then you have WeChat, which is like WhatsApp. And she's posting on there in these group chats where she recommends her mom as a nanny. And she says, I'm recommending a nanny. My colleague originally booked her. So now she's switching it up.
But this is older than Red Note post?
Yes.
Okay.
My colleague originally booked her, but recently she decided to return to China to have a baby. So now it's her colleague, not her. She recommended the nanny to me. Several of my colleagues have used this nanny. She's very clean and reliable, and the daughter also lives in the area. So lots of trust. Nobody responds. So days later, she's in a different group chat on WeChat, and she's writing, wait, wasn't someone here looking for a cleaning lady? My colleague just moved and his cleaning lady is now available. She's Chinese. She's been working for their family for a really long time. I haven't hired her personally, but if anybody needs her, I can get him to send me the info. I heard she's quite cheap. Their house is a 2-story home, probably 1,800 square feet. The cleaning lady comes in once a week and charges $50. No time limit. Which, side note, that's an insanely low fee to charge. It's crazy. Like these rates, everyone online were like, these rates don't even make sense, especially in a big city. According to Reddit and other online sources, house cleaning services in the Bay Area, you're looking at $30 to $70 per hour. It's going to take multiple hours to clean a 1,500 to 1,800 square foot home, depending on how messy it is. $50 for the entire place just doesn't make any sense. And because it's such a good deal, everyone on WeChat starts asking for the contact information. They're responding in the chat like, oh my God, please, please, please. One person comments, oh my God, the price for her cleaning is lower than the floor. Like it cannot go lower. It's already on the floor. Please, I need the contact info. What kind of godsend price is this? Christina responds, I'm also so tempted to use the cleaner, but my mom is visiting in the US and she's been cleaning my house. She's definitely not as good and she's got a really nasty temper. I never got to use the cleaning lady for cleanings, so let me know if you guys want the women's contact info. And then she sends the phone number, which turns out to be Christina's personal phone number. And the person that she's referring is her mother.
Wow.
Which, side note, what makes all of this even more twisted, if it's true, is that, again, Christina makes a lot of money. And on top of that, she works as talent acquisition for TikTok. Let's be pretty real. She probably knows to a, I would say, relatively deep level how advertising works. Her way of advertising her mom is so meticulously thought out and sinister. She never says it's my mom. Because what's wrong with that? You could just say, hey, my mom works as a, as a housekeeper. She would love a job.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah. Dang. And it also sounds like she definitely knows the mom's problem.
Yes.
Like 1,000%.
A nasty temper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, just wait. There's more group chats. That said, to everybody's amazement, it does get worse. It said that Dina and Tim, they fired the nanny October 3rd. And October 4th, someone in the group chat is explaining, hey, I still need a cleaner. I still need a cleaner, aka the nanny, aka Christina's mom, who is now in China. And they were told, quote, oh, the cleaners are fully booked and they're not accepting any new appointments. There's no more slots available if anyone's wondering. No, the cleaner fled to China.
Oh, so knows exactly what just happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
And is still responding like, oh, she's booked. She's all the way booked. But that's clearly not true. So people are digging up all this information within 24 hours of Dina and Tim's initial expose that's posted on Chinese social media. Now, mind you, up until all of this, from October into November, Christina is not reaching out. They're trying to work with the police. The police can't really do anything because there's no extradition treaty with China. Even with the video evidence, there's nothing that they can do. Christina never reaches out, not once, but within 24 hours of this expose going up, she posts online. Christina posts online, victims, please contact me if you have been harmed.
What?
Yeah.
That's it?
No, and then she continues, I am Nanny Lu's daughter. Regarding this matter, I did not take the responsibilities for safeguarding the situation, and I did not know nor care for my mother's personal health and mental state. Regarding my mother's working as a nanny in the US, we did not know that this was happening. For the full 9 months that she was here in the US, she did not live with us. She used my Red Note account to post, pretending to be me, and used my cell phone number to contact the victims. I did not know about any of this.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
If you do not believe me, we can video chat so that you can see that I'm not the referral's voice. Regarding this matter, I feel so wronged. I don't know how to fix this. Either it just feels incredibly unjust. With my family's financial condition, I did not have any reason to recommend my mother for her to obtain an illegal job in the US. AKA, I'm rich. AKA, like, why are you throwing this in there? And she's saying, regarding the aftermath, I don't understand why the parents of the child did not call the police right away, but instead chose to let my mother go back to China, and then chose to address the issue by online bullying my family. My husband did not receive the messages you claim you sent us. The reason for not responding immediately is, 1, my mother did not admit to doing anything that she was accused of. 2, child abuse is very serious and it's a crime. We were hoping that the police would handle the issue. On top of that, when the police asked us and inquired about this issue, that was the first time that I saw the security footage. It shook me to my core. After I confirmed the safety of the baby, my first reaction was, is there something wrong with my mom? Like, is she having a mental breakdown? The week that I spoke to the police, we were constantly dealing with the authorities, constantly dealing with this matter. I was repeatedly calling my parents in China, suggesting that they go to the hospital to get my mom's mental state checked out. Did I try to avoid this matter? Yeah, I did. I admit that because I didn't want to get in contact with the parents directly. I wanted to trust that the police would handle it. If they were going to arrest my mother, they should arrest my mother. If they were going to sentence my mother, then she should be sentenced. Whatever needs to be done, it's fine. Please, everyone, just try to think in my shoes for once. If this happened to you and your mom refused to admit this, and then you see the security footage only to realize the truth, besides taking care of your mom, what more can you do? What can I do in this situation? This has already happened. I mean, comparing the damage to the family of the baby that they've received, the damage that it's done to me and my family is, I guess, dismissible. The impact that it's had on me is, insignificant. I can very much understand the parents of the baby's anger after 2 months. And I also understand that they're not seeking money. But in my current stage, I can't fix my mom. So all I can do is beg for the parents to answer my call. If you don't want the police to handle it, then I'm also open to hearing your demands so we can settle it privately. I mean, I guess who raised her, right?
Yeah.
There's not a single apology in the statement. I mean, this is the hill you want to die on? Like, child abuse is okay, it's not my problem? That's the hill? It's always hard to understand when people decide to be so stubborn and wrong and morally corrupt. It doesn't even make sense. Christina basically complains, for lack of a better words. She did her best. This is not my problem. My mom might be mentally ill. Why don't you let the police handle it? Also, the post is riddled with, me when I lie moments. That meme? Things just don't make sense. Your mother hasn't lived with you for the past 9 months. How did she get access to your Red Note account and your phone number to impersonate you? Not to mention the referral post that was made promoting Nanny Lou as the best nanny ever. It was written with a lot of trendy words. I guess like you would say more slang.
Yeah.
It's not something...
Yeah, my parents can't even figure out how to make an account.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Exactly. After this post blows up, more screenshots get unearthed. And I will say this time around, it's very difficult to validate these screenshots, so take it with a grain of salt. But someone claims that they are in a group chat with Christina. Christina has been ranting about this situation to the group chat. Allegedly, she wrote in her chat that she wanted her mom to work in the United States because she doesn't want her to just sit around at home and do nothing all day. Then she allegedly goes on to write, look, the employer didn't pay enough, so she threw the baby. The child was hit. That was that. They definitely didn't pay her enough for all that work. Anyway, once this turmoil dies down, I'm going to treat everyone in this group chat to a meal.
What?
Another alleged chat says, in a few days, the internet will move on. No one in China even cares what you're seeing. The outrage is just all fake commotion based on what big data is pushing to you.
Huh.
Let the law handle it. The outrage is going to die down. I mean, what? Do I need to go to jail too? Again, these are alleged messages. Finally, someone in the group chat gets fed up with it and allegedly responds to allegedly Christina. You're just indifferent to it? Do you really feel nothing about the videos of your mom abusing the baby? Or are you just like your mom? If this is actually Christina, the account responds, I'm used to it. That's why I want her to work. She can't just stay at home. Whatever grievances that the mom has, what does it have to do with me? The worst part is, it is said and alleged that Christina changed her profile picture in the group chat to be of baby H.
Whoa.
So one person that exposed the group chat said from the beginning to the very end, she never felt that she nor her mother were in the wrong. Instead, she believes it's Dina that's in the wrong. That's her attitude. That Dina and Tim are the reason for all of this happening to her.
Yeah.
Her attitude feels very much like, everyone is bullying me on the internet. What does this have to do with me? Why am I getting bullied? I'm not the one that hit the kid.
Yeah, even the very original post, she's saying that, why didn't you call the police right away? Are you kidding me? That's your first response?
Yeah. Oh, and then she makes another post. It almost feels sarcastic. The opening line is, I'm the daughter of the malicious nanny from the Bay Area.
This is her second post.
Yes. We have been speaking and communicating with the police about this matter. If the affected family is still unsatisfied and wishes to resolve this privately, please answer the phone. Currently, we have received many personal attacks and threatening messages, which we have reported to the police. We hope that people will stop illegally sharing our personal information. All my explanations and actions to address this issue will only be conveyed directly to the family involved. Thank you for your understanding.
Wow.
People went in. People went into TikTok.
See, what's interesting is
Yes.
she did really good at marketing the mother, right? She understand what the algorithm, what people wants
Yes.
to see. And it worked. But when this happened, backlash happened, anybody outside can see like whatever she's doing right now is going to make the things 10 times worse. Now everyone hates you, not just your mom, but you.
Yeah.
But because they're messed up inside, they can't even help it to be evil, right? They can't even take a second to think, oh, maybe I should apologize first and not to play the victim card. They can't even help it.
I find that when people are just really bad people, it always comes out. Even if they're smart, successful, it just comes out.
Yes. When the tension is high, they don't know how to change that.
It's crazy. And people were upset. A lot of people that were on Chinese social media, that were on Red Note, they also work for TikTok. And they were reporting her internally. Nonstop. Everybody was reporting her. And finally, someone who allegedly works at TikTok, and again, take this with a grain of salt, said, yeah, okay, so her status right after this whole thing blew up, everybody reported her, was on leave. And then now it's account not found in the internal, employee.
Like she's fired?
It seems like she was fired. And it's also off her LinkedIn. Her LinkedIn has gone kind of private, if you will. But it does appear that her husband is still working at Snap. People have mixed feelings about this. I would say it's like a spectrum. Some people think that the husband, Christina getting fired for her online post is one thing. Yeah, because you work at head of talent acquisition. You're like the worst person to entice people to work for TikTok. You just don't do your job well anymore, right? But with the husband, people are a little more mixed. Some people are saying, well, he didn't really have involvement. That's not his mother. And should his whole life be ruined because of that too? But then other people are saying he drove her. He drove her to the place of employment. So even if he didn't know that his mother-in-law was abusive, like his wife seems to know, he still knew that she was illegally working. So you're still allegedly indirectly helping commit a crime. Now, as for the nanny, I don't think anything will happen to her unless she commits a crime in China that is different from this, or she tries to come back into the US, which I don't think she ever will. There seems to be not much else the police can do at this point. As of baby H, she has received full body x-rays and MRIs. She is too young to know if there's any lasting impacts from the abuse. It does seem like there were no direct critical conditions that need to be, examined. But I'm sure the guilt, the trauma, and the anxiety of what if? It's still going to be there for a really long time. The parents say that they feel so much guilt that their baby suffered inexplicable harm for the first 10 days on Earth. They don't even know if their family will ever psychologically heal from this trauma. Regardless, some netizens feel like everybody in the case is to blame, including baby H's parents, Dina and Tim. In fact, some netizens even take it further and they feel like the parents are the main blame. They say, so a newborn was left with a stranger? Why have a baby for someone else to look after, especially a newborn? Stop leaving your kids with other people. Another reads, I don't excuse this abuser at all, but parents should be aware that there are people like this. You really cannot trust strangers with your children. Being aware of that and planning ahead to stay at home with your kids, even for a few years, is being a responsible parent. A few years. It's up to you to protect your kids and raise them. If you can't put your kids before your job, you are not ready to be a parent, maybe ever. Some other netizens agree, writing, leaving babies to strangers is taking chances. Why can't moms stay at home to take care of their own? Don't have babies if you can't provide maternal care. Another reads, popping out a baby and immediately handing her over to a random nanny is mind-blowing. There's a whole thread of netizens agreeing and shouting into the abyss of their echo chamber, writing, women have been doing it for hundreds of years, but nowadays we don't do it anymore. It's sad that our baby's life is not worth it. They have to worry about long-term effects on the baby now because she was, tired. The nanny was tired and abused the baby. I mean, I don't mean disrespect, but it's the truth. To some degree, I think that everyone is entitled to their own opinion. But no, I don't think you are. One comment reads, for those blaming the parents not taking care of the baby themselves, this nanny was actually hired as a postpartum doula. This is very common in China. Postpartum nannies are specifically trained to take care of newborns, so they start their job when the baby is 1 day old. Their salary reaches towards $10,000 a month because of their specialty. The baby's mother is also suffering from major bleeding when giving birth, so she was hospitalized. Other parents just didn't agree with the way the parents handled it. They say it's not the parents' fault, but, I understand the point, but why are you not checking the camera footage videos on a daily basis? I would watch the camera every time the nanny goes in, or at least check daily what she does at nighttime, especially when the baby is so young. Others are commenting, why bother getting a camera if you're not going to check it, especially in the beginning? It's like getting a house alarm but never setting it because it's a safe neighborhood. Others write, during my postpartum, my baby and Nanny stayed with me in my room full time because I was so paranoid. But most netizens are fighting back. They say, in another interview, the mother said she suffered postpartum hemorrhaging and was extremely weak during this period. Dad needed to go to work during the daytime. Not every mom is lucky to recover perfectly within a few days. Can't people be nice and understanding? Other netizens were more focused on the actual abuse. They say, honestly, I just watched the first 2 seconds and I instantly had to turn off the video. I felt like I was watching someone murder a newborn. It was that violent. Another comment reads, at first I thought she threw a doll. I didn't imagine she was hurting a baby like that. And some netizens are focused on the question that a lot of netizens have. Wow, so both the husband and wife are high-earning tech workers. Why does the mother even need to take the nanny job? She's obviously a horrible nanny and now a criminal. It just sounds like too much greed. Honestly, for that, I think they should lose everything. Another netizen writes, the daughter and son-in-law of the nanny should be arrested for felony accessory after the fact and afterwards be sued in civil court for everything that they own. Some netizens disagree, commenting, oh, so we're firing people for crimes committed by their relatives? What do you guys think? I mean, it's not just crimes committed by the relative, though. They got the job, they drove her to work, and then to a degree, we can assume or allege that they helped her flee the country. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that Christina and her husband should be held criminally liable for what Christina's mother did and how they helped? Or do you think maybe they should just get fired from their positions? Or do you think only the abuser should be held liable? Let me know in the comments. Also, there's currently a petition for change.org for the USCSI, United States Citizenship and Immigration Service, to investigate their illegal employment and infant abuse allegations. I will link that in the show notes. So with that being said, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.